Hello, hello. We are back with Nostr Asia Hackathon. We've gotten some exciting workshops for you coming up today. Really excited about this one. The amazing team, the team that is creating tools to enable a lot of you builders to enable usability of Nostr is here with us today to give like a whole overview. It's like a really interesting presentation here about Nostr Wallet Connect and a whole bunch of different tools that they've been working at Alby with some code demos. This one is definitely geared towards the developers, but anyone who is interested in kind of like getting some basis of understanding for things like zaps and Nostr World Connect specifically um, can get some value out of it. Without further ado, I would like to bring some of the presenters on. Let's get started with Bumi here. Hello there, Bumi.
Hello.
Hey there.
Awesome. Nice to be here.
Thanks for joining again. Yesterday we had a presentation from Hannah from Lightning Labs, and I was just remembering, like in the very first shock to herself, you actually you were around before even fun was fun, right? Um, so I wanted to like give thanks to like some of these presenters and stuff that's still sticking with us. We've done about 8 tournaments and hackathons already. It's crazy,
It's
and
amazing.
you
Thank
guys
you
are
so
still,
much for putting all the
yeah,
effort in and putting it together. So we've come a long way also. A lot of things
right.
happen in the meantime, and a lot of things actually also came out of like all the tournaments. So pretty excited.
Yeah, exactly. And one cool thing that actually came out from the tournament last year, the very first Legends of Lightning tournament we had, was Roland's project, who is also on your team. So, Roland,
Hey, Johns.
hey there. You were on the Lightsats team, the winning team, the legend from last year. How are things?
Yep. Yeah, great. So after winning, we continued on with light sets, adding a lot of new features. A leaderboard, scoreboard, even a prototype of non-self-custodial tips. So that's quite interesting. So a really great experience, and that's how I met Rene from Alby as well. Uh, so yeah, definitely for anyone who hasn't started their project yet, or you know it's just started. This is a great experience, to meet Bitcoiners, and learn a lot of different skills. So, highly recommend it.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, like you guys did amazingly during the tournament from the design side to like the execution. It definitely was in a class of its own. And not only that, you guys, Juan, especially with the like on the marketing side and bringing that knowledge and stuff to the team. I think by the end of the tournament, you guys had like almost 2,000 users, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without him. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and I think like although this presentation is going to be very developer focused, as I imagine, for those of you listening out there, it's also very important to get other diverse kind of people on your team. We tend to like be very kind of like, well, it's a hackathon, so let's get all the developers together and like hack something amazing. But maybe bring in a copywriter, bring in a designer, bring in someone for marketing. It'll take your project to like definitely like the next level. Roland, I have a question for you because me and Boomy, we go back and forth so many times, so I know his whole backstory. The community probably knows his whole backstory. But for you, how did you end up becoming a maker? How did that
So
journey
I've
start?
been programming. Yeah, I've been programming for about 15 years, so a long time. Initially, I got started. I played a lot of games when I was a kid, and I wanted to make cheats for games. So that's kind of how I got started with programming. Um, so after I discovered Bitcoin, which is quite late actually, just during COVID, I decided I wanted to try and make some games with some, Bitcoin functionality in them, with the idea to onboard new people into Bitcoin through games. But I kind of discovered that I'm actually really bad at making games. I mean, I make games that I like to play, but no one else likes them. So, but anyway, at the time, I also discovered Stacker News, which I thought the gamification of posting notes and also earning sats from people upvoting the best content is a really powerful idea, and also a way to stop bots from spamming. So at that time I was on Stacker News quite a lot, and that's where Juan posted about the Bolt Fun hackathon, and that's how I was at the time just making this game, and I had already added some lightning functionality. I was like, okay, I can make a prototype light sets, and that's how we got started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. And I guess, you trying to make the cheats how many years ago? You ended up doing that because you made a game that you know the entire mechanics of. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of trying to cheat another game, make a game that you can cheat.
But
all right,
at
there's
the
another.
end,
There's an. Go on.
oh, sorry. Yeah, the moral of the story is it's not actually fun to cheat. It's better to put in the work, right? Proof of work. That's the way to go.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And we have another fellow here who's definitely putting in a lot of the work. Adita,
Hello.
how are you doing? How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
What about
we've
you?
spoken. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. A lot of stuff going on with these tournaments and thing. I'm seeing if I still have my hair, but yours is fantastic. I hope to be like your have yours when I grow up. So yeah, Aditya, you're also on the Alby team. Like, tell us about how you ended up at Alby, how you ended up as a maker, even.
Yeah, so to start about how I became a developer, so that's back in during the 2020 during the COVID times, because the college got shut down and we ended up in staying in our homes. So that's when I actually bought a laptop, and then there was this freecodecamp.org site which has these free lectures, free, you know, all these what do you say, all these it has this entire curriculum on this front end, back end, and all this stuff, and that was actually kind of interesting because it had these kind of like, it was kind of like a game, because you complete each and every section of HTML, CSS, and JS, and all that stuff. And so it felt like a game actually, and that was very interesting. And then we had you have to make 2 to 3 projects in order to get a certification. And there was this kind of competition going on with my friends, that who will collect more certificates. It's kind of stupid actually, but still, like, we used to compete for them. And then that's how I got interested in front end development. And then and after that, in October in 2021, I got introduced to Hacktoberfest. So in 2020 actually, and then I was like introduced to this whole concept of open source and all the awesome people over here. And then I started making pull requests, and then I got them merged. And I also was contributing to these different organizations and repositories, because they had some these cool swags. And then I was started contributing to those awesome repositories for the swags initially. And then I got introduced to these various open source programs, and the community felt quite great, because there you get a lot to learn from the mentors directly, right? So that's how I started targeting for these programs. And then I did Google Summer of Code, and then after that I got introduced to Summer of Bitcoin. So because I got a mail from Adi Shankara saying this is an awesome program just like GSOC. So if you have already done that, so it's best to try over here too. So I sent an application to Bumi, and then he found it nice, and then he selected me for some of Bitcoin under Alby, and yeah. So after that, after college and after that program, I got into Alby for full time. Yeah. So that's a long story.
Amazing. No, that's amazing. I really love highlighting and like hearing some of these stories about like people's journey. To this point, a lot of it is like, we hear a lot about like the Bitcoin. It's important. For me, I think we need like a lot more builders in the space. A lot of builders working on interesting things, like you guys. And yeah, it's just super interesting to hear about the backstory. Hacktoberfest as well. That's something that I think, yeah, not that many people in this space kind of like acknowledge. I see Alby is doing some promo and some stuff for Hacktoberfest. That's fantastic. Maybe you could talk about that at the end or something. You could do your plugs and stuff. And Free Code Camp competing for certificates. That's also pretty cool and interesting. Yeah, I'm writing down notes on that now. You see, I got it on my little hand note. All right, well, guys, without further ado, I think we've kept people waiting enough. Let's get into it, okay? Let's get the presentation going.
Yeah.
All right, so your slides are there. It should be coming up. I'll be in the background for. If you need anything, just holler at me. I'll be backstage, but the stage is all yours.
Cool. So
Thank you.
this is actually our third presentation this month. And if you'd like to check out the first and second part, we covered the basics of WebLN, LN URL, and Nostr Wallet Connect, 3 very important protocols when you're developing your apps. But we will revisit those protocols during these slides. So definitely, if you see them today and you want to learn a bit more, go back and watch the first 2. But today specifically Zaps and Nostr Wallet Connect, we're going to go into greater detail. So yeah, I already introduced myself. Happy to receive any emails or join our Telegram. It's the best place to chat.
Yeah. So without any further ado, let's go to the demo of the Zap button. So this is kind of a Zap button blog. So the main aim of project is to bring the Zaps truly out of Nostr. So we just made this sample blog and to show how easy it is to integrate Zap button. So the main part that we are going to demonstrate is over here, and it's basically a simple button. And what in order to zap it, and this is not a Nostr client, so this is completely out of Nostr. This is just a blog, and this has this zap button component integrated in it. So when I click on it, you just see a component pop-up saying Bitcoin Connect, and how would you want to connect. So I'll choose Alby NWC for now, and yeah, it opens up the Nostr Wallet Connect application, and now I want to connect to Bitcoin Connect, so I connect it. And now we are back again into the Zap, the blog. So now I'm connected here, and it shows how many sats I own. And now if I click on it again, you can see different options, how much money I want to zap. So, and also this, for example, if you want to see the stats of this person, you can also click on the button and see how many sats this person has got in form of zaps. So for example, if I just want to zap here, I just enter the customer amount, say something like 73, and I send it once again.
The nice demo effect.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, let's try it again. So otherwise, we're gonna look into the code anyway, and then we can see what the error is and if we can fix it. So
yeah, I guess it's been a long time since I pressed reload, so that I guess that's because of that. So yeah, now that's now the zap is successful. So now I have zapped 72. Let's see if that's registered or not. Yeah, so we get this 72 zaps, and now that we can also see it in the zap stats of this person. So all I have to do is I use this component called zap button, and I pass the ln URL of the person. For example, if it's Aditya, I add a prop saying ln URL equals Aditya at the rate of getalby.com. And if it's Bumi, then I'll say Bumi at the rate of getalby.com, and whatever the lightning address of that person is. And this doesn't also involve passing the pub key, and it's so simple because it fetches the pub key from the lightning address itself. So yeah, that's the demo of this application. Now Roland will go through each and every part of how this application is built, and then we'll go through the whole code of the Zap button again.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just quickly, the benefit of the Zap button, right? So in the past, we made a normal donate button, so you can donate sats, but these donations are completely private. Whereas if you use Nostr, the zaps are all public, right? And with zaps, in my opinion, is the best implementation of value for value to date. Quite a few Bitcoins have already been zapped over the last 6 months. So for those who don't know, value for value is a monetization model, which is a lot better for both the creator and the consumer, because there's direct payments from the consumer to the creator. There's no one takes a cut. Also, the creator gets to choose, the consumer gets to choose how much they want to pay for the value that they get from the content. There's no ads. There might not be any subscriptions. There's only payments directly for the content, and also the creator can have a closer interaction with their users, right? So how does Zaps work behind the scenes? There's actually quite a few things that are going on. So first, when you go into any Nostr client, Amethyst, Damus, Snort, you can set up your profile, right? So one of the things you can do is sign a metadata event, which will include, your name and also your Lightning address. This is really important. And that's how you link Lightning as the native currency, Bitcoin, the native currency in Nostr, to your profile. And so if your profile has a Lightning address attached to it, that means as long as your Lightning address server supports zaps, then people can zap you. So we can open up this this link. So part of the LN URL specification, which we covered more in our previous sessions, one of the things that you can retrieve from a Lightning address is whether or not it supports zaps. And here you can see it allows Nostr, and it has a Nostr public key. But to be clear, this is not the user's public key specifically. It could be, but it's actually the public key of the Lightning node that's going to receive the zaps and then publish an event in response saying, yes, I actually received this zap.
Yeah, this is often missed, right? That's why this is important to mention. It's like the key that signs the zap event ultimately in the end. So not the person that receives it, but the key that signs it.
Yeah. And another piece of data in that well-known endpoint is the callback URL. So if you remember from the previous session, standard Bolt 11 invoices can only be paid once. And that's why we have this idea of the Lightning address, where just within an address, you can request multiple invoices from a static human identifiable string, just like an email address. So this callback URL is actually what a wallet has to call in order to generate an invoice. And this time we actually pass a zap request as a query parameter in the callback URL, and that shows who we are zapping. So then the user who's doing the zap, they will pay the invoice. And if they're on a web app, they will use WebLN, and we'll go into that in more detail later on. And as I said before, the node that receives the payment, and also because that node was the one that generated the invoice and received the information about the zap request, it can publish a response. And this is the one that can be displayed by Nostr clients. So yeah, on Nostr clients, if you've got a person's profile or an event, you can filter zaps just by that event or by that profile using tags and a specific profile pub key if you want to filter by a profile. Cool. So all of this, doing the HTTP requests for generating invoices, you can do all this manually yourself, but we've created a package that makes it really simple to use to generate invoices. So first thing, we'll go through a demo so you can see this in action. So when we're going to pay someone, the first thing we need to do is generate an invoice. So you'll see lines 14. This is where we specify who we want to pay, and all we need to do is pass their Lightning address, and then we can fetch details from them. And actually what this will do is fetch the information from the well-known endpoint, which we showed previously. And that also shows what range of sats, like a minimum and a maximum amount of sats we can request an invoice. And also the callback URL, as I mentioned before, that's the one that is actually used to create an invoice. So once we've fetched that data, we can actually request an invoice, but there's a few other things that Lightning Tools also helps with this package. So you can do fiat to Bitcoin conversions. You can do boostergram boosts and also Nostr zaps, and that's something we'll cover later on in this session. But for now, the most important thing is that we will request an invoice for hello@getalby.com. So we're going to pay to hello@getalby.com. We get the invoice, and one of the parameters that's returned is the bold 11 invoice, which is the payment request there. So when someone clicks on a button to click pay, we can pass this payment request to webln.sendPayment and actually execute the payment for this invoice.
So yeah, so basically the library is a collection of useful tools that you need when you build Lightning web applications, right? So it's a growing collection. Also, if somebody is missing something, it's all on GitHub. You can make an issue or open a pull request. But I think this is the important flow that typically any application or any tool that you use with Lightning will gonna need.
Cool. Yep. So I think Bumi, you maybe can explain this the best, but LNURL basically came about with bold 11 not really having all the features that people needed. For example, as I mentioned, invoices can only be paid once. So as a temporary workaround, LNURL was created, and it's a way to communicate with a Lightning node, but over standard HTTP requests. So doing simple things like requesting an invoice or even withdrawing money the opposite way around, which is quite cool. Your website can actually pay back to users on the site, and also even anonymously logging in without providing your email address or anything about you can use the LNURL spec for. So it's pretty cool. I'd recommend looking into that further.
Yep, quite interesting. Also, it's not only about like the requesting the invoice, as you say, but for example, also there you can pass in more parameters, like a comment or a payer name or a payer identifier, all these things that work kind of not are natively in the Lightning protocol itself or on the bold 11 spec itself, but are kind of useful when you build applications.
Yeah, so in that case, this additional data will not be put inside the Bolt 11 invoice, right? But it will be stored on the Lightning address server, so that when the node receives a payment, the server can also link to this additional data and return it back. And that's kind of how zaps work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So one other thing to notice here is that in the original demo, right, we zapped to a Lightning address, and we only have the Lightning address. How do we zap Nostr profile? Because we need their pub key, right? So there's another specification for that, NIP05. So if we open up the well-known endpoint here, which is another endpoint which will be hosted by the Lightning address server, and basically it will link a specific username or Lightning address to a Nostr public key. So yeah, if you want to check out our Lightning Tools package, go ahead. Like Bumi said, yeah, if there's any missing features or there are a lot of issues, so if you want to contribute, please go ahead. So now we jump to the Alby JS SDK, which is a package to simplify execution of Nostr Wallet Connect. So just to recap here as well, Nostr Wallet Connect is a way to access Lightning functionality, but over Nostr. So if you have an Alby extension on your computer, you're fine. You can, directly access your node and everything works great. But from mobile devices, progressive web apps, different types of browsers that don't support extensions, that's quite difficult. And the beauty of Nostr Wallet Connect is it's so simple to implement on the client side. And what this enables is basically native access to a Lightning node. And it's an open protocol, super simple. So let's quickly go to the demo and show how that works. So we created a simple package basically to simplify the usage of Nostr Wallet Connect. So you don't actually have to do these. You don't have to connect to relays yourself. You don't have to sign events. Implement the NIP46 protocol. You can just use this library and get simple access to the features that we have, like sending payments, making invoices, getting your balance. And the awesome thing here is that we expose this through WebLN, through a provider of WebLN. So following the standard WebLN protocol. And that makes it really easy for websites because as a web developer, you want to access Lightning functionality, but you don't want to have to, add handling for different types of Lightning wallets, different types of Lightning nodes. There's just, if you could just use a single protocol to access any type of Lightning node, it makes it so much easier. So that's basically what WebLN does. So the difference here is we create a WebLN provider, but it's actually powered by Nostr Wallet Connect. So when you initialize it, you pass the Nostr Wallet Connect URL. And when you enable it, what you're actually doing is connecting to the relay that you're going to be sending and receiving messages from. And then basically the interface is just the same as you're used to with WebLN. So send payment, get balance, make invoice. Just one line to, send a payment, really easy, really awesome. So this is actually also used in our Zap button package, which we'll talk about later on in the code demo.
So just to mention what happens in the background, right? So as you say, it's connected to the relay, and at the send payment function, then would take the Bolt 11 invoice, create the Nostr event, sign it, publish it to the relay, and is waiting for the response, and then returning the pre-image in this example. So all these heavy lifting is abstracted away in that function. So you have a high-level API that you can use, and don't worry actually what's about the signing and all the low-level functionality itself.
Cool. Yeah, and we have a link below, so definitely try it out. It's all open source. If you have any issues or like any new features or methods, please let us know.
Yep. There is also the NIP. Like initially, the NIP was only focusing on sending payments, which were needed for sending subs. But because it's such a nice and useful universal tool, quite easy to implement, quite easy to run, no matter what node you have behind it. If it's if you run the node yourself on an Umbrel or Raspberry Blitz or something like that, or if it's an Alby account or Mutiny and so on, it's all universal and interoperable. And because it's so simple and useful, more functions are being added, like, for example, creating invoices, looking up the invoices, getting the balance of a wallet, which are all basic functionalities that typically most of the Lightning apps gonna need.
Cool. So the last piece of the puzzle is Bitcoin Connect. So you saw, if you don't have the Alby extension installed, or you're creating an app which is a progressive web app and it's going to run on iOS or Android, or your users are using different browsers on their phone, like Safari, Kiwi browser, any browser that might not be able to fully run the Alby extension or any other extension. Bitcoin Connect is a way to basically bring the Alby extension to the browser in a different way. So it's actually served by the web app. So if we go back to the previous demo that we showed before, where we requested an invoice that we can pay. Actually, in order to pay the invoice, we need we need a provider of WebLN, and that doesn't exist if you're in an incognito tab or you don't have the Alby extension installed. How can you easily make a payment? And the thing here is we want to make payments as seamless as possible. If you make 5 payments, you don't want to have to, pull out your phone or switch apps, scan a QR code. WebLN is for seamless payments on the web. So if we scroll down a bit, we have a way for the user to connect to their Lightning wallet, and just with a few lines of code. So we have a button. If you click on it, then it will launch a modal where you're given different options to connect to the Lightning wallet of your choice. You can also render a modal on its own if you don't want to show the button, and you can also launch the modal programmatically. So it's quite useful in different situations, and you have full control over what parts of the UI you want to show. But the main thing to mention here is basically Bitcoin Connect will provide an instance of window.webln to the application. So if your application already supports WebLN for people who connect with an extension, you almost don't have to make any changes, and it just works. And we've already added it to a few apps, Zapstream, Habla News, and Nostr. So you can try these clients, save them as a progressive web app on your phone, and you can do one-tap zaps, zap splits as well. It just makes making Lightning payments really seamless for the user.
Yeah. And the nice thing here again is, sort of emphasizes here to have a universal interface for the developers through WebLN. No matter what kind of wallet their users are using, but also have a universal interface and a kind of a standard interface, like a UI interface, for the users to allow them to use whatever Lightning wallet they want to use. So, and Nostr Wallet Connect is a big piece of that, but it's only one piece of it. As you can see, there is also kind of, you can say you want to use the extension, or potentially you could say Lightning Node Connect or LN bits directly, or whatever it is. So there's tries to be a universal interface.
Yep, and those connectors are actually coming very soon. So yeah, stay tuned for the next update. We'll be adding 3 new connectors, Mutiny Wallet as well, which is actually powered by Nostr Wallet Connect again. So if you haven't tried Mutiny Wallet, there's a great self-custodial wallet that supports Nostr Wallet Connect, and also even gifting new users. So yeah, quite interesting to check that out.
Yeah, or you run, for example, Nostr Wallet Connect on your own Umbrella. It's going to be possible too. So all these things are then abstracted away because we use the common interfaces here.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, just to recap quickly, a bit more technical, is WebLN is a way to facilitate communication between the app and the Lightning wallet. So no matter what Lightning wallet you use, it's just a single interface, really easy for the web application to use. If we make it easy for developers to create apps, then there's going to be more apps and better apps, right? People can spend more time creating nice interfaces, creating quality apps without having to implement all these different ways to connect to different wallets that people want to connect with. And yet again, it works everywhere. So Nostr Wallet Connect is an open protocol. You can run it on your backend server to make payments. You can put it in desktop apps, mobile apps, progressive web apps. It just works everywhere. And it's a really easy way to connect to different types of Lightning wallets. Cool. So Bitcoin Connect, it's a really new project from Alby, but it's actually just like the Alby extension. It's fully open source and it's quite neutral. So if you would like to add any type of connector, as long as it's a way to connect to some type of Lightning wallet, we would love to have your contribution. We're planning to add a lot of connectors, just like the Alby extension does. So we're adding LNC, LN bits, Mutiny, Umbrella through Nostr Wallet Connect, and we can add it a lot more. So if you would like to make a pull request, and we even have Hacktoberfest issues again, so there's our plug, right? So yeah, definitely if you'd like to contribute, don't hesitate to comment on an issue. If you need help, we'll be glad to get you started.
Cool. Let's look into code, how this all comes together.
Yeah. So now that we've seen each and every part of this whole project, let's jump right into it and see how it all comes together and gives us this zap button. So yeah. So now what we've, just to give a recap, I told you that the zap button just takes in an LN URL, so just the Lightning address, and it provides us a way to zap people. So yeah. So how does it work? So first of all, it takes this LN URL and then initializes a Lightning address class. And how is it being possible? Because of the Lightning tools over here. So now using this Lightning address class, we create an instance and then we save it over here. And we call the fetch method so that it gets populated and we get all the information from those well-known endpoints, be it the callback URL, be it the Nostr information and all that stuff. And now that we have this LN instance fully populated and we have all the data that we can get from this Lightning address, we store it. And then what we do, we first proceed to the Bitcoin Connect part of the application. So that now that we have all the information of the person to be zapped, so now let's initialize the NWC, the connection with your NWC wallet, and so that the user can zap the person. So how is it being done. So we just use these a few lines of code to make that happen, because with Bitcoin Connect, we use the Bitcoin Connect React package, and all we do is, because we also don't even need a button, because the Zap button itself is a button, and we can open the model from by clicking on that itself. So we just use two things. One is the model that pops up that you see, and the second one is the launch model function. So just these two are the only things that are required to make this happen. So, and that's how you inject Webel in, even
And
when it's
just-
on incognito. Yeah.
Sorry, just one thing there. On line 123, we also have this check, right? So, for example, if people already have a WebLN extension on their desktop, then Bitcoin Connect won't show up because they already have a valid provider they can just instantly pay, right? So this is like a fallback, and it basically enables you to use it on your mobile phone or a progressive web app or any other type of browser where you don't have the Alby extension or a different WebLN extension installed.
Yeah. So that's the power of Bitcoin Connect, and that's how we're using it. In just 4 to 5 lines of code, we just inject WebLN in all the places where there's no extension or there's no window.webLN in short. So yeah, so now that we have the Bitcoin Connect, and now we also have WebLN in our in the browser, and we also know the information of that person, it's time to zap. So now when we click on zap, what we do is we basically trigger this function, and we send the number of satoshis. So if we enter a custom amount, then that would be sent over here. Otherwise, if you click a button saying 100 sats, then the amount will be 100. So yeah, so if we prepare the zap box, we send in the number of satoshis, we add a comment saying this is actually from zap button. We can also customize this, and we specify all the relays that we want this to be relate to. And now we use the zap box and use the simple function called zap. So, and where is this coming from? This is also again coming from the Lightning address class, and all these are available in the Alby tools. So just to quickly go through it, when we do this fetch, we populate it with the LNURLP data and the keysend data and the Nostr data. And now when we do a zap, what we basically are doing is we are calling this method, and what that does is it calls first the zap invoice method of it, and which basically does this time it also adds this event information, because this is the zap invoice method. It adds all the event information that we have sent over here, and then it passes on to it passes it, and then it adds to the generate invoice. So basically all this is being added to that callback URL, as Roland mentioned before. So now not just the amount and the comment, but now we are also being able to we also add this event information, so that because this is a zap, and now this invoice is generated, and then using the WebLN. So whenever we get this WebLN, we now, if it's an incognito window, it gets this from the Bitcoin because of Bitcoin Connect. And if you're using it normally with the Alby extension or any other Lightning extension, it just gets it from window.webLN because it's already available. So yeah, so that's how.
Just quickly, can we go back to the invoice generation? Maybe we can jump a bit deeper there. So that event that we create, it's a zap request, right? So the user who is going to post the zap, they will choose the price and the comment and the person that they're zapping, and they will sign it with their private key. So that's proving that they were the one who created the zap request, right? But it gets encoded into just a query parameter that's passed to the original Lightning address LNURL callback to generate an invoice, and that zap request will be stored in the Lightning address server. So when you get the invoice back, but it's just a plain bold 11 invoice that you can pay. And once you've paid it, the Lightning address server again receives the payment. It has this zap request available, and it can sign the zap response, right? The actual zap event that's going to be displayed on clients.
Yeah. So that's how we finally zap an account, because that's what goes behind all these simple Alby tools package that we use. So now that we did that, we basically alert the user that the zap has been successful, and we just log the pre-image just to show proof of the payment. So that's how this is done. And now coming to the stats that we see over here, when we click over here, we see what else zaps that this person has received. In order to do that, we have used this. It's basically this component, the zap stats component. We use this Nostr hooks uh, package, which is also an awesome package to subscribe to events and listen to them. So that, and in this case, these are all zaps, right? And so because zaps are of kind 9735 and the request would be 9734, and in order to see all those zapped events, the kind number for that would be 9735, and it's in an IP 57. So yeah, so we basically specify the kind of it. So and also the pub key. And where are we getting this pub key? Again, it's coming from the ln instance that we have. We just do ln.nostr pub key because that's already been fetched. So we pass that on to here onto the zap stats component, and then we receive the pub key over here, and we specify it in the filters, and we filter all those with the kind 9735, and all those would be passed again in the other functions. So basically, we're getting the final information, which is pub key and the amount which the person has zapped. So all this information will be visualized in this pretty way, so that this person has zapped 25 sats and so on. And that's how this amazing zap button component has been put together using all these awesome packages, like be it Nostr hooks, be it the Bitcoin Connect React package, or the Lightning tools. So yeah.
And the end result, right, is you can display this zap button with just one line of code, right?
Mhm.
Just one
And-
HTML tag. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So coming back to the thing we started with, so if you have a blog and then it's not at all connected to Nostr or something, then and if you want to add zaps to it, for example, if mine is just a simple blog which has these awesome like articles. So now what I just have to do is I finally have to install this package. So that would be npm add zap button, and then I just add this one line of code saying zap button space ln urls and the person's ln url whoever posted that article. So, and all this that we have mentioned happens in the background, and you can simply zap as many amount of sats as you want, and it would be also visible in the zap section of the profiles in Nostr as well. So yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Nice.
That
I
was
think,
amazing.
I don't know, John, do you have some questions? I think the code is everybody to look at. It's to me a really nice example how these different protocols come together, and also where Nostr doesn't need to stay in a Nostr client, but you can use it in existing web applications or existing blogs or whatever you have there. Even though we can put blogs on Nostr too, right? That can be events too, but it doesn't have to be. We can use these parts in the application, and it shows all these different building blocks that can be combined and integrated in completely new ways that are super powerful, I think.
Yeah, it was a very interesting walkthrough as well, because you guys effectively use some of your tools to create like a reusable component that other people can then use as a tool. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, and
this
it's
is
not even, like it's building on the standards. Like, for example, the LNUL, then you have the Lightning address. So this works with any Lightning address there, right? So, or you have the zapping part. So as you can use that with any relay that you want to use. So all these building blocks come together quite nicely there.
Yeah, there is a project I think it's called SplitSat, that's in the tournament right now, and they're planning on using zaps for settlement of expenses and stuff. So specifically the zap receipt, right, to do those calculations. whilst I have, some of the best minds in the game on this, I'm just curious. Does the Zap server, aka Lightning Address Server, um, is that the one that publishes the events?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's signed by, for example, it's signed by Alby, for the Alby. Okay. Cool. 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 Okay. Um, what other kinds of tools and widgets do you guys think you would like people to see? Because I think one of Rene's initial projects that shocked the web was a widget that's I'm still seeing around these days. This was a really cool one to put a Nostr and Lightning functionality into a pre-existing website that could be WordPress, like a WordPress website or something else. Are there any other kinds of like widgets like this that you guys could suggest for people to build or that you would like to see?
I was actually going to suggest an upgrade to Rene's tipping widget to Nostr, but Aditya just created this in a couple of days, and it basically does the same thing. So I think that's pretty cool.
The one thing that René's widget is kind of missing, or that we always have been missing when we we're tipping or in the value for value case on the web, which is super powerful with Lightning and super easy with Lightning to do. But there was often no really return, right? It was not easy. Like in René's widget, you could tip the person, you could send satoshis to the website, but you wouldn't see this entry that you actually tipped something. And for that, actually, it would be much more complicated because the website would need some backend to store this information. The user would need to add more information to that and making it a bit more complicated again. And there, Nostr, for example, now comes in, where you can say, hey, awesome, I can just subscribe to the events, to the sub events, and I can list that. So I don't need any additional backend. It can be completely client-side as the app that Aditya was showing, but it's loading the Nostr events, the sub events, from the relay, potentially getting profiles and whatnot, and being able to show the people who actually subbed. And you could think of expanding that to even more crowdfunding, kind of easy crowdfunding widgets, because now you have like this widget where somebody can just chip in money, but you can listen to the sub events and then calculate a certain the total amount and say, hey, we already raised I don't know, X sats out of N, and these kind of things. All these same kind of building blocks. So
that's very interesting. Keep it going. Like, you got another one? I love these.
So, and it's also that this thing is you might even have it in a Nostr client,
Exactly.
or you might even have it on a website, but it becomes interoperable again. So right, people might be able to sap you on a Nostr profile, or sap a Nostr profile or Nostr event in a Nostr client, but you can still show that same information on a web application, which is I think could be quite powerful. So so you have this interoperability, because normally we're often in silos, right? If you have a web app, your blog stays in there. If you're even in Nostr, it might stay just in Nostr. But like, okay, we can use this in various ways.
Yeah.
I think Found was, for example, also bringing out a proposal to combine this Nostr idea with the boostergrams, that you can have cross-app comments and cross-app zaps, basically boostergrams as they call it in the podcasting space, but that you also see who sent a boostergram to a podcast episode in the podcast player again. So, which I think is also quite nice and powerful there.
I like how all these applications are kind of like extracting pieces of themselves, putting it up on Nostr, and then other things can kind of like pull down from that. And then they also get the benefit of like having like a wider audience, or having like more what do you call it, more reach, right? like for example, our commenting section on Bolt Fun, it's we publish a thread, right? Like a root event for every post. But then anyone who follows our Nostr NPub, if they comment on Nostr, right, on that thread, it should show up on Bolt Fun. Now we also have the
Exactly.
issue of like trying to figure out which relays to connect to and how much to connect to and stuff. That's a bit of a issue. And then of course you blast everything out on Blaster, right? Because you wanted to have the biggest reach. But the opportunities for this technology, and it's really amazing. And you know, as it goes as far as your imagination. You know, think about the components, everyone. You know, you have this. The data is disconnected from your application. It lives out there, right? On these relays, you have this ability to do Lightning payments, and through things like WebLN or you know Nostr Wallet Connect or Bitcoin Connect, you're now able to like integrate the payment part, right? Global borderless payment with this like data layer that's like out there. You figure out how you piece them together. Like, what could you do with all these you know users who have Lightning wallets and they have their data that's portable and they could move from application to application. Think about some mechanisms and ways to you know put those things together. And of course, use Alby tools, use all the stuff that you've seen here that the amazing team has presented. And I really can't wait to see what people come up with. That crowdfunding idea sounds really, really interesting, by the way. Yeah, just even you know like these old thermometer that they would have for what you call it for fundraisers. You know,
Yeah.
maybe someone could do that. You know, but it's actually leveling up with zaps. You know, you can be creative with it as well. It's what there's a week or so left for the tournament, a little bit more than that. You know, if you want to just join and build something for fun, something cool and interactive, like what Aditya came up with, that's a cool little button, right? Other people can use it. It's cool to interact with. You can put custom, add some nice animations. It doesn't have to be something big, huge. You know, you can make some small stuff as well.
Yeah. And
Thank
I
you so
like the
much,
way
team.
that you said it, like that applications are extracting certain pieces they have and put them out there. But the sum of this is becoming so much more exciting and so much more valuable for all of these applications, which is the exciting part and the interesting part, right? So which you cannot even think of yet. That's the power of making it available and making it putting it out there.
Exactly. And build the public too. Hey.
Yep.
Thank you so much, guys. Agon, Roland?
Yep. There's another example actually. Zaps stream has goals at the moment. So you can set a goal for your stream, and try and reach it by the end of the stream. If you do, there'll be a nice confetti show. And actually, a tool created by Verbericha, I think, I don't know if I pronounce it right, but it's called Zap Goals. And it's quite similar. It actually attaches to the same data. It's a completely different app. And you can have these crowdfunding goals for different things. So, but I think the thing missing there is it's not a widget that you can embed onto a website, and that's a slight difference that the Zap button does, right? So all these different tools using the same data or different pieces of the data is really, really cool.
Definitely. I just kind of just did a little search for Zap goals there. My Alby popped up, so I'm gonna be giving this a try in a bit. I think that's it for now. I want to thank you guys so much. Roland, I know it's late for you, Aditya as well. Thank you so much for the presentation. I would love to get you guys back on at some point just to talk about like some of the projects that we're seeing in the space coming up as well. I like these kind of ideas that you guys have. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Always
That's it,
awesome.
everyone.
Yep. See you
Yeah.
soon.
Bye bye.